Hi everyone, in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to paint this bonfire in gouache. This is a shorter version of the full real-time tutorial which is available over on my Patreon. In the real-time version I take you through the sketching process as well, and I'm narrating while I'm painting, so you get to hear me speak my thoughts out loud as I'm color mixing and making my color choices and everything. The full version is about an hour and a half long, and I'll leave a link down below where you can check it out, as well as the other real-time tutorials that I have available on my Patreon. Your support on there helps me to continue what I do on this channel, so thank you to everyone who is already on there supporting me. It really means a lot. Now let's get started with this tutorial. So I've got on my palette some Prussian blue, some black and some white, and I'm just going to soak through my flat brush to get started. So I'm going to mix my Prussian blue with my black and some white. So I'm just making the blue a little more grey by adding in black to it, and you can just add a little bit of black at a time. You don't want to make it too grey all at once. I'm going to add a little bit more black, and it's going to be darker up the top, and then it's going to get lighter as we bring it down. So as I move down, I'm going to just add in more white. With the reference photo, I've just edited it to be a little bit brighter because the original photo, it's quite dark, and I want it to be a bit brighter just so you can see a bit more of the other elements in the scene. Otherwise, you can only really see the campfire. And because the water is a reflection of that, so we can use the same paint and just reflect it. So I'm just going to start off with the dark paint again, mix up some more and start at the bottom here. And switching to my round brush, I'm going to paint in the silhouette of those distant trees. So we're just going to use pure black paint for that. If it mixes a bit with the blue, that's okay as well. And I'm going to just very simply paint on the silhouette and its reflection. I might actually just mix it with a little bit of the blue, just so it's a little bit lighter. And then just following the shape that you can see, so just a slight curve upwards. So now I'm going to just start nudging up and down a little so there's some textures, and I'm going to do the same thing for the reflection. So I'm just going to follow what I did above and just reflect it down the bottom. And this part gets cut off by this ledge at the back, so I'm going to have to stop the reflection there. And I'm just going to use the tip of my brush again just to nudge it up and down. And still using the same paint, I'm going to paint on the silhouette of these trees at the back here. Then I'm going to go back to my dark paint, so using my black with a little bit of Prussian blue. And I'm going to paint on the silhouette of those trees above. So you can paint them in quite loosely. You can't really go too wrong with these. They're just silhouettes, so there's not much form to them, not much 3D form. So you can just paint what you see. And the leaves are kind of flicking upwards, so you can see I'm moving downwards and curving it ever so slightly like this. Because my brush comes to a pointy tip, it's easy for me to get a very clean stroke and a very pointy edge. And the branches also, they flow up like this, so I'm going to follow that pattern. And you want to make sure that you weave some branches in between the leaves, just so it doesn't look like the leaves are just hanging on from nothing. So you can just weave a few lines here and there and try to keep it nice and thin. And while you have this paint on your brush, we can also go ahead and paint in the tree that's over here. So because it's nighttime, you only really see the silhouette as well, so we can just keep using black and a bit of Prussian blue to paint it in. I've got some burnt umber and the spectrum red. I'm just going to give the paints a quick mist, and then picking up some burnt umber, going to mix it with some white and mix in a little bit of the red and use that for the distant land over here. So just burnt umber, red and a little bit of white. And then I can move on to working on the one that's in front, and this one's a little bit darker. So I'm going to mix up some more burnt umber, a bit more black, and add some red as well. Just make it a bit darker with a bit more black in there. And this one just goes in front. So switching back to the flat brush, and I'm just going to mix up more of this paint. So burnt umber, red and a little bit of black. Can make it maybe a bit darker as I want to block in starting from this bottom. I'm going to add more red into it as I bring it up. Going to start to get a little bit lighter, so I'll add in a bit of white. As we get closer to the bonfire, it gets more red from the glow of the fire, so I'm just adding in more red as I get closer to it. And I'm just looking for the different patches of dark and light and just loosely blocking it in. And I realized that this part is actually a little bright, so I am going to have to go back and make it a bit darker and just fix it up a bit. It's just a bit too bright. And I'm going to make this part at the back just a little bit darker too. It just looks a little bit strange if it's this bright when it's this dark at nighttime. So I've just got some cool yellow here. I'm going to mix it a bit with the red so I get an orange, and I'm just going to apply this on here. And just block the surrounding area in a warm reddish orange glow. So I just want to block in all the white of the paper now. I'm just looking for the different colors, and over here where it slopes down it's a little bit lighter. I'm just adding a bit of white to the paint. And I also want to paint in the bonfire now, so I'm going to block in the log using some black and burnt umber. So the side of the log that faces the fire is very illuminated by the fire, so I won't paint the whole log as a lot of it is a lot more brightly lit. I'm going to now paint on those 3 trees in the back. So we've actually already painted in the tree, we've just got to paint in the tree trunk. So I'm going to use burnt umber and black. You're also going to want to paint on the roots of the tree, which extend out from this one. And then I'm going to go into this lighter mixture, add a bit of red into it, and start to highlight the left side of the tree. I'll have to add some white too, just to make it a bit lighter. Add some red, maybe a touch of yellow, and just apply it to the left side of this tree. And then I'm going to go back into the burnt umber and add some white into it and apply it over here as well. And using the same paint, making it a little bit darker, I'm going to do the same to the tree behind it. If you need to, you can also paint some more leaves over here, just so it looks like it flows together a bit more naturally. And then cleaning this off quite thoroughly, as now I'm going to start working on the campfire, and I want to keep that as pure as possible. So with a clean brush, I'm going to pick up some yellow and some white, mix it together, and just start to block in a bit of the fire. I've also got some warm yellow on my palette, and I'm going to add a touch of red to it. And you can use this to place in here. You can highlight the side of the log that's facing the fire, because it's receiving that bright glow from the fire. So I'm going to start highlighting that. Make it a bit lighter, a bit more of the cool yellow. And then I'm going to keep building towards the center where it's going to reach a pure white. So I'll pick up some pure white, but mix it with a bit of yellow and start building it into the center. Try not to contaminate it, as you want to try keep that center really white, so you really feel like it's a bright glow coming from the center. Okay, I'm gonna keep working on the ground and then move between that and the campfire as I start to finalize the details here. So let's start with this little island at the back, or this patch of land that curves behind it. So we've already made it quite dark. I'm just going to make it a little bit darker, so using some black and burnt umber. I'm just going to bring this up like that, curve around, maybe just block in this whole part again, and just want to create some textures here. I'll mix a little bit of red into it. And then let's work on this patch over here. It's also quite dark, so I'm using that same black and burnt umber mixture. So it curves behind the bonfire. I'll make the part that's a little bit closer just a bit more red. But otherwise it's also pretty dark. And curving this upwards to help suggest the shape of this part. Mixing up some more black and burnt umber. I'm just going to block in this part. It's quite dark here, you can't really see too much. So I'm trying to suggest texture in the ground while bringing out the form of this part. You can even use your finger to blend it out. And then I'm mixing in some more red and a little bit of yellow and bringing out this part which is a little bit more illuminated. I want to mix up some lighter red, so I'm going to add more yellow to it and use this to just brighten up some of the areas on the ground which are receiving the light from the bonfire. So I'm gonna properly shape out the logs now. So using black and burnt umber, I'm gonna shape out this log over here. Then cleaning this off, I'm going to mix some red with some warm yellow and some cool yellow and paint that onto the parts of the log which are illuminated by the fire. Some of the smokiness is coming out here, so I'm just going to pull it out a little bit. Going to go into the center here and also bring out some of the flames in here. I'm just going to keep going back and forth between these colors and just keep trying to bring out the flame as much as I can to make it look as realistic as I can. And I'm going to save those ashes flying off for last because I think that will be the finishing touch to it all. You can start to bring out some of the bright parts, so you can imagine that they're catching on some things that are facing upwards, so you can just bring it out a little bit. And then using some pure yellow and some white, I'm really going to get into the center of this. So I don't want to go for pure white yet. I'm only going to use that in the very center. I'm just going to use lots of white and just a little bit of yellow and just start to bring it in. I've got some more fresh white paint here, so I'm going to make it really bright but not quite pure white. I've still got some yellow on my brush and I'm just going to bring it into the center. Then cleaning this off, now I'm actually going to just use pure white and place that right in the center and just blend it out with its surrounding area. I want to paint in a little bit of the details over here, so just using some black and a bit of the Prussian blue, I'm going to paint on some of these branches over here. I'm going to try to keep it as thin as possible. And then I'm going to do the most fun part, which is the sparks. So using white and some maybe warm yellow, I think. You're just going to want to paint on the sparks that are flying off. So keep them nice and thin. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and if you recreate it, feel free to tag me on Instagram, as I'd love to see. Hope you're all staying safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.